Hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to another episode of VC Live. It's the first one in the new year. Thanks so much everyone for joining in. Lovely to see most of you. There are some familiar names that have joined us. Thank you so much for joining in. We are going to be starting our session in a few minutes. In the meantime, just a few housekeeping announcements. If you have any questions for our speaker today, please feel free to ask them in the chat box. And of course, this goes without saying, in order to ensure a seamless presentation today, would request all of you to please keep your videos off and your mics muted as well. But yes, in the spirit of interaction, in the spirit of ensuring that this is informative for everyone, would really like to hear your comments, your feedback on today's session, and please feel free to again use the chat box to ask your questions to the speaker. We are going to wait for another 2 minutes to see how many more people join in, and we will start soon. Thank you. Hi, good evening again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of BC Live. This is an initiative by GVCC. GVCC, as you may know, stands for Godrej Value Co-Creators Club. This was established last year. It is a platform for nurturing the architecture and design community, that is you. If you have already signed up to be a member, a warm welcome back to the club, everyone. But however, if you are new and you would like to know more about GVCC, what we do, and how you can be a part of it and how you can benefit from the club, from joining the club, please see a link in the chat where you can fill out your details and learn more about what GVCC does. The club currently has over 1,200 practitioners, but we hope to keep growing and keep adding more people to this community. And we also hope to have more community-led initiatives just like this one. Value Co-Creators Live is a monthly series of interactive, educative conversations with experts in the field of architecture and design. We did our first season last year, which was really successful, where we addressed different aspects of what makes design conscious and how one can design consciously, what it means, what it entails, and how it can be achieved. Through informal, but yes, definitely insightful conversations with experts as well as young talent, we hope to define an equitable and empathic process of creating environments that are responsive to the needs and aspirations of all of its inhabitants. As curators, Mrinalini Gadiok and I are very happy to be bringing these conversations to you, hopefully in the comfort of your home or in your office. A little bit about us. Who are we? Mrinalini Gadiok is an architect by training, but having practiced architecture and lighting design. She taught at university, researched historical narratives, and was a founding editor of Motto Arc in India and Stir. Her curiosities now lie in questioning normative mechanisms in the creative community, usually through written and curatorial practices. Mrinalini, if you can just say hi to everyone.
Hello, very excited to be here. Thanks, Neha. And yeah, looking forward to this very exciting chat this evening. Thank you.
Absolutely, likewise. Thanks, Mrinalini. As for me, I'm a former journalist. I'm a educator and curator of storytelling experiences, just like this one. Having previously worked with brands like Jaipur Rugs, Godrej Properties, El Decor, Exchange Media, my focus currently lies in brand and marketing communications and curating experiences specifically for end users. I love and I enjoy working with design, luxury, retail, real estate, fintech and social impact brands. A special announcement. So Godrej Locks is gearing up for the second edition of their awards, which is the GVs, an extension of the GVCC Club. So curated by FOED, the GVs is dedicated to celebrating both innovative and conscious ideas in architecture and design. This time for every category, we have a special People's Choice Award where we let the community, that is you, take a vote and select who is deserving in that category. There will be a link that we shared in the chat where you can check out all the shortlisted entries and vote for what you feel is the most deserving project and designer. This link will be open until the 3rd. I mean, you can vote till the 3rd and the 4th of March. So make sure that you pick a winner by that date. That's 3rd and 4th of March, which is this Friday and Saturday. The final winners will be announced in a special ceremony next week. Rudra, if you can have the video now, please. Thank you. Thanks. So you will get to discover and hopefully see the winners of this year's GVs sometime next week, after next week. Getting on to why we are here today. This is the second season of VC Live, where we are addressing the idea of smarter living. Of course, smarter living for us is a very broad term, which encapsulates many aspects of how we live our lives today. But for us, smarter living extends beyond tech integration, beyond innovation. We want each session in the season to focus on efficiency, on sustenance, long-term use, and effects too, not just on us, but on the natural and built environment as a whole. So with this season, we hope to have experts share how they plan to bring back the focus on and be more tuned into evolving human needs through hopefully meaningful and effective design. Today's masterclass will focus on smart restaurant design. Very exciting. Mrinani and I are especially really excited about this session today. The restaurant industry, not just in India, but around the world, of course, struggled through a very difficult couple of years because of the pandemic. Today, with the new normal already ahead of us, the demand for adaptable, intuitive restaurant interior design is higher than ever. For us as patrons and as visitors, restaurants, bistros offer that blissful moment of escapism, right? A chance to leave the realities of our daily life behind. With growing demand, with globalization, and even with democratization too of the luxurious experience, simply having a tasty menu or even quality service just isn't enough anymore. To talk about this direction that restaurant design is taking in India, we've invited an expert who's had years of experience designing eateries and similar spaces around the world. Please meet Abhigyan Neogi. Hi, Abhigyan. A little bit about Abhigyan, if I can make a small introduction about him. Abhigyan is a visual storyteller and a celebrated F&B architect and designer based in Delhi. Abhigyan Neogi has transcended conventional barriers and proven innovation in the industry with over 400 successful projects delivered worldwide. And he's going to show us some of those projects today. Known for creating trends in hospitality design, his design philosophy juxtaposes materiality, spatial design, and experiences that evoke emotion. Since opening his practice, Chrome Design Studio in 2010, Abhigyan has been pioneering the designs for the HORECA industry, apart from his featured residential and commercial projects as well. His choice of offbeat colors, color tones, unorthodox material palette, and quaint but very meaningful design stories have become a cult on its own. His projects include Diona in Jaipur, Miso Sexy in Bangalore, Amazonia in Mumbai, Cafe de Flora in Delhi, and of course classics like The Social in Cyber Hub, Quality in Connaught Place, Gulati in Gurugram, 1-8 Commune in Aero City, and others. So on that note, Abhigyan, thank you so much for your time and for joining us today. Please take it away. Yeah, Abhigyan, you're on mute. If you can unmute yourself, please.
Hi guys, how are you? So I am Abhigyan. I run a studio called Chromed based out of Delhi. We are a collective team of 30 people. It's not just me. So there's a lot of years of hard work of a lot of people. Probably 150 odd people have worked with us to create what we've created as a body of work. I mean, our goal is to keep on doing work, and we love doing projects. On an average, we do about 50 or 60 at a given point of time, and we end up finishing about 60 odd projects in a year. So broadly, we've been lucky with F&B as a core, and it's just been that we've been lucky. We started doing projects, and they started becoming successful. So that's the reason why I got more projects and more projects. So luckily, I mean, anything that we've touched has made money for our clients, and that's why they keep on hiring us to do more for them. Eventuality, in the past 13 years, we've learned a lot, and we've understood the game in the sense of it's a lot more than just design, and probably our expertise of understanding the business holistically has helped us move ahead in a certain line of thought. Today, I'm going to share a few of my works. I mean, let me start. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yeah, you can make it full screen and just change the display settings. Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's a studio where we work out of, and so today I'm going to talk about few of our projects in past. I mean, this is a glimpse of what we have been doing, and we've been trying to focus on various typologies. Today's I'm going to run you through a project where we're going to discuss why a restaurant is produced the way it is. So some restaurants are designed around experience. Some restaurants are designed around a visual delight. Some restaurants are designed around nostalgia. Some restaurants are designed around Instagram. I mean, every product that is created in the end has a starting point. No matter what, there has to be a story to it. So there's always a key design generator which we follow, as there's function, and then we have to have a story to talk about. That's why I'm, after 13 years, I'm probably talking about things that I've done 5 years back. If I didn't have the story, there's nothing that I can talk about to you guys. So starting with a few projects around India, around the globe. So this is a project called M Bar in Calcutta. It's a club. And the bit that we're going to like or talk about here is the ceiling of the project. It's a club with a very low ceiling height, about 12 feet height. So we had to design a ceiling that is programmable. So the entire ceiling can communicate to the sound, and then it becomes like a visual delight. So once someone's inside the space, then gets to understand that the sound and the light goes hand in hand. So we had to do a lighting installation. So we had done a parametric solution of creating these about 1800 small pixels of light, each of them independently programmable. So that was the process of getting things up, and that's how the space looks like. Quick video to show how people use it. Can you get the sound? I think so. You are.
Yeah.
This is the video by the client. He had made it. So I'm marketing. Now you understand the entire scaling of the space. It's like a visual like a movie that goes on to your screen. So you can program it to sound and to reach.
The whole place is a dance floor. Dance it out, everybody, wherever you are.
So I mean, this is just a quick kind of. So we designed a ceiling, and that was the space itself. The rest everything stays dark. So that's one kind of experience where we try to create something through lighting in the space. This one is interesting. It's Sector 7, Chandigarh. I mean, the good thing is also you'll see connotations from around India and how things are happening all over simultaneously. That's also a learning that we've gone over time. That we build projects in Ladakh, Guwahati, Chandigarh, Bombay, Goa, every space. So you will see some level of connotation in terms of how each space is different for different countries, different states. So now Sector 7 social, that's the facade. Again, we just trying to talk about experiences. That's the space. I mean, not everything has to be very aesthetically beautiful for people to like it. So an example of this is that this is like you're sitting into giant size Pringle, Tiger Balm cans and you're dining inside it. So these are basically concrete hewn pipes for drainage that we've converted it into seating. And there's a staircase that leads to a smoking area. So the staircase itself is again a piece of furniture. So let people sit on the staircase and enjoy the meal. Same project we planted. This is the entrance from the backside. So we had a narrow corridor. We bought a tram, especially from Calcutta, which was being disposed, and we shipped it, and we got it on a train to Chandigarh, and then we planted it in our backyard. So for people of Chandigarh, experiencing a tram firsthand, it's not fabricated. It's like the real tram got from there, planted here, and experiencing it firsthand in Chandigarh is the experience. So you enter into the restaurant through Calcutta. I mean, that's the kind of experience that we would love to create. This is a Nehru Place social in Delhi, where again the staircase becomes the key. But for the first time, we tried doing furniture that rotates. And the fun part about it is the center of gravity stays the same. So these are 3 pods. These are like Ferris wheels, and you'll rotate as if you're inside a Ferris wheel. And the test was when we had to put all our drinks and food on the table and then sit. So the drink should not fall even though the Ferris wheel rotates. And there's a science behind it. So there is the center of gravity stays the same. So your drinks will rotate along with you, but will not fall off the table. So super fun. Then we decided let's do a ticketed seat. So if you want to sit inside this Ferris wheel, pay 5 rupees and then enter into the Ferris wheel. So this again an experience design that we had done for social. Similar kind of a format. It's a brand called Prankster that we did in Chandigarh. This is like a corridor to enter. It's a digital corridor that reflects your image. So when you walk through, it captures. It's got sensors on the entire wall, so it captures your motion and creates a reflection in form of a light through the corridor. It's a very dark corridor. So when you walk through, basically your shadow is basically a light that follows you. So then people have a lot of fun walking in and out of the corridor. Also for the ceiling, so we wanted a programmable ceiling. So the entire ceiling, which is a retractable moving ceiling, had the right image, is that we then programmed the entire ceiling. So the entire ceiling then communicates in terms of light and sound. So we play a lot with lighting, we play a lot with spaces. So we try and program each and every light to behave differently in different spaces. Cyber Hub Social, a very interesting experiment. We wanted to plant a Mumbai chawl inside a Cyber Hub, which is a DLF establishment built by Hafiz Contractor. And we wanted to play a pun that there could be something like a chawl inside a Hafiz Contractor space. So that's the main restaurant. That's how it looks like. It's like a courtyard of a chawl. It's designed like a chawl. Simple things like having a handkerchief over a lamp, carom board tables, asbestos ceiling inside a mall, and cute flower lamps on the entire space. So and a big solid chunky white tile bar. So again, while doing the project, we thought there's a certain sense of aesthetics that people will like to see, which may not be beautiful for a lot of people, but which may be very nostalgic for a lot of people. So you may like it, the work inside it. So again, we built double-decker seating, we built corridors, more, and this is one of the spaces. So we had built multiple workspaces. So like social has workspaces, this is a workspace. We designed a small room of a chawl that overlooks into the courtyard, and that's the restaurant. So people would love to enjoy. And small details like getting a small television set, which is a 10 inches television set, and planting it on the corner and selecting the bed sheet to put and getting it to that category. So it's like direction of a movie set where we know that that's the story. So this is the entire space. There are certain, I skipped one slide, 1 second. So there are certain spaces that we wrapped with plastic wrappers. So you will see Campbell soup wrap, and that's on flooring, wall, ceiling, everywhere. So that's basically a plastic wrap. So you get these wrappers free of cost, and then some people use it as protection, and they wrap it all around. So smaller ideas, a lot of ideas that we've explored, but we never, I mean, we could never like weave the stories together, but there are tons and tons of stories overlaying in the space. This is again in a mall. So this is a cinema social where we were adapting single screen cinemas and paying an ode to it. So how single screen cinemas were at one point of time and how they vanished. And we wanted to create a restaurant around single screen cinema. So that's the front half of it, which is more like a concessionaire space. There's a ticket board, there is a booking system, and there is a the front half of it is open to the mall, and the inner half, which is the inside, is like a cinema hall. So again, super fun. There are these booths, there are these kind of box seats that you used to get at one point of time, and then you sit inside the cinema. There is this element of fun that we wanted to have, and we wanted to showcase cinema through restaurants. So that's what social is. Again, we did a project around a park. So again, all these projects that you see are inside an hardcore concrete mall, which is a very premium mall. And then we created a park. So this is in Saket. And so we did a lot of, it had a lot of visual overplay. So there was a lot of videos running on the wall, and the furniture was very park-like. So this is just a quick kind of a glimpse of how the space is and how the furniture is. So we keep on challenging the notion of that this is how furniture should be. I mean, if something is designed around the park, then the furniture is designed around the park. It's not necessary, it has to go till the end in terms of core. And very contrasting example, this is in Allahabad, a place called El Chico, where we done a restaurant, which was designed around the form. So they wanted, so these are all experiences. They wanted something that people will never forget. So we created a massive tree. The entire restaurant is designed like a tree. And the form is something that defines the space. So then you are inside a massive tree. So now the second generation of restaurants, so these are all experience-based, experience in terms of a lot of it never sparks in photographs. It always stays in your memory, and you can't just click the space in one shot. You make small videos, you forget about it, you forget the small nuances, but you like it, so you keep on coming back because you don't remember what you saw. And the next set of projects that I'm going to show are more Instagram friendly, where the objective is to see the visual and remember the visual. So this is a project in BKC, recently completed, called Amazonia. It's designed around an Amazon rainforest. It's got its own nuances, but it's like a super duper Instagrammable space. So you can't forget the space. I'll run a quick video of how the space is. So there are lots of small nuances that go in making of spaces like this. People remember the one visual of it, but still there are these nuances that we work around and then create the final kind of a product. So again, new kind of a product for Mumbai, where Amazonia is one of them. It's a cute Japanese cafe called Harajuku. We built 2 of them in Delhi, where again the idea is to have a very pop Japanese culture and create a visual kind of a delight. So we did cloud lights, we did smaller elements, cute furniture, people sitting on these wood. I think so thousands of people have clicked their photographs. This is in Select City Walk, sitting on this bench. And it was designed, there was this empty wall. It was designed for a purpose, for people to just come, sit, click a photograph, go back. And that's what marketing is. So that's what promotes the restaurant. Recent project, Cafe Flora in Delhi. Again, a very Instagrammable Parisian cafe. And you have to wait half an hour to get inside this tiny restaurant. It's doing that well. So that's how the space is. So then we're going to talk about second kind of spaces, which are basically designed for the visual of it. So this is Diona in Jaipur. We designed a Greek cafe on top of a Jaipur terrace. It's 35,000 square feet. It's massive. But again, it's an outdoor restaurant and bar where we had basically created a full city on the terrace. So that's how the space is. There again, overlaying with smaller kind of nuances like we do. So we did lighting that were programmable, went up and down. This was for the indoor of that space. This is an interesting project. It's called Musafir in Texas. I'll show you a video in the end of how we've created an Indian restaurant in US. Again, there's a lot of experience-oriented space. They do brilliant food. Indian restaurant was never talked of in the States, and the Indian restaurant had a certain connotation. We had to break it and created a larger-than-life image of what an Indian restaurant could be. I'll come to this slide later. Anardana, again, an Indian restaurant designed around a graphic, which is this Lota. Soga Design Studio had developed that for us. We wanted an installation-based memory space. So you will remember the restaurant for that central large installation. So these are some images of Anardana. And then I would like to talk about a space like Quality. It's a 1936 establishment, probably in its, an uncle who owned Quality said it's my last renovation. So get me back to time. So we designed a space around nostalgia. That's how it's in Connaught Place in Delhi. And we had to build something, and they own the property. And then we had to build something that went back in time. So some people go ahead in time, we went back in time. So we researched a lot, went to 1965 Delhi, when likes of Rajiv Gandhi, Indira Gandhi used to frequent here for a cup of tea or coffee, and what the restaurant used to be at that point of time. And then we replicated that sense of nostalgia. Today also, if you go there, you will be transported in time. So not all restaurants have a purpose. The purpose of this restaurant is to evoke a sense of time that you went back 50 years down the line, and that's how restaurants used to be. So it was a fun project for us. We're still doing more projects in Connaught Place where we are trying to go back into a certain zone and an era. So it strikes that chord with you. It was renovated in 2019, and in its previous renovations, it basically went ahead of the curve. We took it behind the curve. So yeah, so some few more images of the space. Now I'd like to show you the project in US. 1 second. Share screen. So the project in US, Musafir, that I'm just running you through a quick video of it. So that's the entrance. It's a 20,000 square feet project, fairly large for an US standard also. And it's got multiple spaces. It's not just a restaurant, it's an experience. So that's the lobby that you enter through, and you enter through a small narrow corridor into a large restaurant. So they do multiple formats. They formatted like a bar, they work like post meal spaces. So that's the space in general. That's the corridor that leads to the mall. So it's a part of the mall. So there's one entrance from the mall here. Then this is called the shadow room because it's designed around shadows. Yeah, very basic things that we've used, but very effective. That's the Musafir sculpture that we had built. So again, we would like to focus on food, like that's the hero. We are just underplaying. So food becomes a very important role. And getting only good food can support good design. Bad food can't support good design. So the food is brilliant. So that's why people come back to a restaurant. We are just a catalyst. We just create spaces if the food is appreciated. So this gives you a glimpse of the food, the space, the experience of Indian food in US. So we had basically made a sheesh mahal in Jaipur and we packed it and sent it to US. So the challenge was everything is like dismantled, packed and assembled in US. But every single piece, every bar, every light is manufactured in India. So that's the vibe of the property. So it feels nice to see spaces in videos with people using it rather than seeing photographs. And our role has always been to create stuff that is more fun, experiential, not static visuals which are meant for magazine. We are not that magazine architect. We are architects for the pleasure of building something and enjoying it for its lifetime. Yeah, so that's about it.
Such an amazing video that you just showed us, Abhigyan. Thanks so much. Before we actually begin, Rudra, if you can just make the first audience poll live, please, so we can have our participants today also, kind of share their opinions. But while they do so and while they fill out the poll, Abhigyan, it was really lovely to see a restaurant space really beautifully designed back end. Like I was just looking at the back in the kitchen also, and it was beautifully designed. Even the walls and the lining and piping and everything was, you want to. A lot of restaurants sometimes don't pay that much attention to the back end as much as the front end. So it was really nice to see that as well. Yeah, that's something that I also took away. Apart from the fact that yes, the food was as well plated and designed as a restaurant itself. So thanks so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yes, is the first poll live, Rudra? If you can just make the first poll live, please. Yes, thank you. So we are asking all our participants today, and also of course, as inspiration from Abhigyan's own presentation, and plus the experience that you have as a community, whether you're students pursuing design and architecture, or whether you are architects and designers who have pursued restaurant design. We want to understand, when we say smart interior restaurant design, what keywords come to mind? Is it smart tech integration? Is it space saving? Is it to do with multifunctional spaces? Or is it all of the above? We wanted to understand from you what you think and what your opinion is. And Rita, once everyone is answered, we can make the poll live. And I can also see a lot of questions coming in from the audience as well. And thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. We will definitely try to answer the relevant ones as soon as we can. And we're also hoping that in our discussion today, most of your questions will be answered. Yes, if you can please make the answers of this poll live. Wow, interesting to see that a lot of people consider all of the above. Smart tech integration, space saving, multifunctional spaces, multifunctional furniture, and more. And I think we saw an evidence of that in most of your prior projects today, Abhigyan. We want to first understand from you, what does smart design, when it comes to approaching restaurants, what does that mean to you? And if you could just take us through your process a little bit.
I mean, purely from a business perspective, smart design is something that generates more money. So in the end, especially in the realm that we are, which is a commercial purpose, that you create a space for a user group and for a certain kind of an objective. No one makes a restaurant for the fun of it. In the end, you need to extract the maximum out of the space. So first and foremost, the smartest thing is that if the restaurant works, if people like it, they'll come back again. They will like the food, they'll like the space, they'll keep on revisiting the space. So the smartest possible idea of restaurant design is that it makes money. Secondly, it does more than making money. It tells you a story, or it evokes a certain amount of emotion in you. That's also smart in a sense of, if the restaurant is able to communicate more than just food, then it's smarter than its purpose, or it evokes a certain emotion in you that you will not tend to remember, or you not tend to address, but you know that I'm very happy. This space does something to me. So for me, these are things that are smarter than lights going on and off and energy coming up and down. I mean, that's secondary. As smartest product will make you remember that yes, I exist. That's smart for me.
Right. You did say that you have been there designing restaurants for over 13 years now. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We would like to understand, how has the brief evolved over the last years? Like, I'm sure in the last decade alone, the restaurant design experience isn't limited to hasn't been limited to dining, right? What has changed, especially in the last couple of years? Has the pandemic contributed in evolving the brief in any way, or did it not matter at all once
I
everything
mean,
came back to
10
normal?
years back,
Yeah.
restaurants were designed for comfort.
Hmm.
So restaurants were designed for better furniture, luxury. So if you didn't
Yeah.
have that dining table at home, you had it outside, you would like
Hmm.
to come there for that experience. So a certain sense of notion of luxury was there. Then came Instagram and Facebook. Then restaurants were designed to be a background. I mean, more than anything, it's
Yeah.
your background, it's your cool factor, it's your kind of go-to space. So when you say that I am at Starbucks and clicking a photograph and Starbucks at your background, you're basically enhancing your social strata status.
Yeah.
So there came a time where restaurant became more like a backdrop to photographs. And then people said, you are so cool. Why you're frequenting a certain kind of a space? That means you must be of a certain kind of a character. So the luxury then shifted, and people who went to luxurious spaces then found social also cool. Then came a wave of Instagram. This was his Facebook. This is not Instagram. So Facebook, you became the backdrop. You started tagging yourself and your friends that yes, I am at this space. So I am having drink with 5 people. This was pre-Instagram. Then when Instagram came, a lot of visual has been floated out. So then to stand in the clutter of restaurants or visuals, then you had to have a unique kind of a what you may call it Instagrammable space. So
Right.
before Instagram, restaurants are more about experience and spaces. After
Yeah.
Instagram, restaurants are more about the visual of it.
Hmm.
Mm,
Hmm. How
Be
it
it good
looked, what the
experience or
aesthetic
not,
was. Hmm.
that's secondary. And as then pandemic happened, people stopped going to restaurants and people realized, okay, fine, homes are better. Then again, it busted. Everyone started going out a lot, and then restaurants started bustling like anything. But the new trend after 2022 is that things should last longer. So if the visual is very evocative, you will not tend to go there after 5 times. So let people forget the spaces. Now, what we also feel that the spaces should just be and not speak. You speak and the spaces are behind you. And that's when you will really use the space over and over again. Although it should serve a purpose, it should evoke an emotion, but let it not be the most dominant factor for its life to stay. So if something is very, very beautiful, you'd like to see it once. If something is intelligent, you like to see it again and again and again. If something is dumb, you don't care. You're there for your food and your friends, and it's just existing as a background. So there is this transition where people have really realized, and most of our clients have also realized, that there has to be a very fine balance behind the function and the visual. The visual should not be so overpowering that the functions becomes redundant. So the visual has a certain job to do. Let it just do it that bit of a job. Let it not overplay itself. So yeah, so that's how things have moved. And we went back 10 years behind the trend where okay, fine, comfort is the most important thing. Now forget about the visual.
So that's so interesting to see, right? It took a it was a seismic event, the pandemic, and one of the most affected industries was the hospitality industry. So for it to come full circle back to okay, it is about comfort. It is for making people feel like home, feeling comfortable in the space. You want people to not just interact with the food, but interact with the space. I think that is such an interesting change to see, especially with restaurant design. It is also interesting to note that you mentioned, overplaying and over designing. Like you don't want to create an overtly sensorial experience. But do you think, that is sometimes a challenge for you as a designer to, like you talked about, creating Instagrammable spaces. Do you think there is still too much of an emphasis on the aesthetic rather than creating a holistic experience when it
No,
comes
I
to
feel that
restaurants or casual
you
eating?
are basically designing an experience for 3 hours. An end user will come and
Right,
experience the space for 3 hours.
right.
Those 3 hours, you are like a director of a movie, and there are two kinds of director. One is Sanjay Leela Bhansali, and one is Anurag Kashyap. There are two
That's a
kind
good
of
analogy. Yeah.
categorical directors, and both their movies work. So either you become a Sanjay Leela Bhansali, where you see the set and you're like awed by it, and you make a Savaria, or you make a Gangs of Wasipur, where you really like the story, but it's not about the visual, it's more about the story. So I feel we have an opportunity here as parallel as designers, that we are the directors of the space and we are there only for 3 hours. It's like a movie. I mean, you can't sit in a restaurant more than 3 hours. In the space of hospitality, it's you're designing that experience for 3 hours. You are making the people experience whatever you want to them. And if it's like a blockbuster movie like DDLJ, you'll keep on coming back to that restaurant. So there would be some places where the formula is right, and some places where the visual is right, some places where the story is right. You, for every project, you have to choose that whom do you want to be and what is the kind of parallel that you want to become. And it should work. In the end, you are not, so as a director, I don't always have to make a Oscar winning movie. I have to make a movie that works and that an Indian audience understands. So similarly, a restaurant doesn't always need to be featured on a magazine cover. It has to be used by people and have to like it. And there's a certain sensibility that you have to address to. It's not your sensibility, it's their sensibility. So you have to understand that what does that crowd at that point of time need, and it will keep on changing every 2 years. The need of the crowd will change. So you have to go down to their level and understand that what do they want as a space in which they are happy enough to spend the evening. So that's the core. If you don't get the core right, then you can become a very big designer, but the spaces will not work.
Right, right. Speaking of which, I think this is a good point to segue into your process specifically, right? I would like to understand how involved are you in not just the design of the restaurant, but also the branding, the curation of the music, all of the supplementary sensorial experiences, right? That are packaged along with the design. Like for instance, the decompression zone, right? What are the patrons first seeing or experiencing or feeling as soon as they enter? Or what are they smelling, or what do they need to see, or where do they need to wait? It would be great because we also have a active student community who's a part of these sessions, so we get a lot of questions from them too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also
So
people are just starting out, as designers and who are very curious about getting specifically into hospitality and restaurant projects. So it'd be great to kind of, if you can just take us through what is your involvement, not only in the design process, you've taken us through the design process. I think that analogy is perfect. You are essentially taking this on as a movie where you're telling an important story, whether it's
okay,
the Sanjay Leela Bhansali or the, but how
again the
involved are you in the
analogy
process?
again drawing analogy from movies. So being a
Yeah,
director and a producer, you'll have to think of yourself from a producer perspective, which
right.
basically it's a lot more. The design is just 20% or
Mm,
say 15%. Rest, the entire visual or entire kind of experience has to be thought of. And as an architect, we can't have a blind side towards what will the cocktail glass be and what will
yeah,
be the uniform of the server be. When we design spaces, we think it through the T, that this should be the logo on the tissue paper. This has to be an underlying smell of the space. So I need a woody aroma so that you will remember the aroma of the space every time you go there. And that's also design. And then that should be the uniform, that should be the crockery, that should be cutlery. This is how the food should look like. So it's a full ball game. It's not one person's job. It's always a team of people. There are 20 people working. You should be in sync with all 20 people, and you should be a part of the process of the entire experience. It's not just, I don't care, I've done my restaurant, you do the crockery yourself. So we tend to get overlap with multiple people, people who curate the food, people who make the food, and we interact with them that for your food, what is the kind of space that you need? For your kind of visual, what is the kind of space that we would like to create and evoke? So it's you can never detach yourself. It's like a one product. The product is your restaurant food experience, branding, logo, everything is now one product. And
right.
as a consultant, people will expect you to know more than just your core. So they will ask you what should be the food like. I said, I don't know. I mean, I need to get to someone. I'll help you with someone who does good food, and then we can collaborate and do projects.
Right, right. Speaking of, yeah, I think that's very clear that you are involved in every stage. We also wanted to understand from a process standpoint, right? Like a lot of your projects focused on lighting. and not just, lighting for the space, but lighting as a performative element. So there is a lot of thought put into technology, especially when you are designing certain spaces that are meant to keep the audience going, and you want them to retain or stay and interact with the space. So wanted to understand from you, how integral is technology to restaurant design or certain kinds of restaurant design, and how can
I mean,
we
when we do
design
clubs,
this?
when
Yeah,
we do places which are more like nightclubs, they're
yeah.
basically more immersive experiences. So
Mm,
every night you have to have. So that's why lighting, the visual, we do projection mapping, we do a lot more than just lighting
yeah.
and immerse you in a certain kind of a world. So it's like
Right.
theater design, but
Mm,
you're there for partying. So then even the details like smoke, mist, how the light captures on the smoke, and it's a whole new ball game
mm,
where when we design nightclubs we create immersive experiences, and that immersive experiences has to keep changing. So we facilitate immersive experience. That
right.
means we're doing a space that is today this, and tomorrow it can behave as something else, and day after it can behave as something else. So we are
Mm,
creating a platform, we're creating the technology background, and the foreground. Then you need to then if you want to do a Bollywood night, then the foreground is Bollywood. If you want to do a red night, the foreground becomes red. So we basically work hand in hand with technology partners, and we get in depth into technology of how this technology will create my space more immersive. So people get bored of spaces. So in nightclub you basically are immersed in lights and screens. No one cares about furniture, flooring, any other detail.
mm.
So when people really when the screens really matter, then how to place those screens and how to place those lights becomes more important.
Yeah, yeah. Because the reason why I also asked about lighting specifically, because a lot of our participants today had questions about, whether what kind of lights are you using, how do you match your lighting to the design. So yeah,
Yeah,
a
we
lot of
make
it has to
lights.
do
We
with the
make
brief, right?
lights.
You make
We
the lighting.
understand that light has a purpose. So we'll make that light, whether it's a small handkerchief over a bulb, whether
Mm,
it's programming 1,800 pieces of LEDs and making them behave in that way. So we
yeah,
would like to create, we create everything from light to furniture to space. So we challenge the notion that why does this product belong here? So let's make a product for this space.
right, right.
That's when the
Absolutely.
space becomes unique.
Yeah. Speaking of making spaces unique, I'm sure there are certain challenges that also come your way. With every brief, there is that battle or that that pressure, maybe, to be out of the box, to be completely different. We're gonna make another poll live for our audience to answer, just to understand what are the challenges that they face when it comes to designing restaurants. Is it to do with big ideas, but it spaces to work with? Is it the fact that tech integration is limiting? Is it the fact that efficient space planning, front end versus back end? Is that a task for you, or is it accounting for efficiency at all? Between everything, or is it all of the above? We'd like to hear from you. What are the challenges that you face when it comes to restaurant design? And Rudra, once everyone has had the opportunity to fill in, you can make the results live. And while everyone else is doing that, maybe Abhigyan, you can talk about what are the challenges that you face on a daily basis. Is the challenge mainly to do with trying to kind of one up yourself with every brief, or is it completely something else altogether?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is that the body of work that we've done, and
Yeah,
uh, and then you have to create something new. So they come to an architect that, okay, fine, all this is done. Now tell me, what can you do for me? At
right.
times I address the problem in a way, if this formula works for you, it doesn't matter if it's happened in past. So it is not plagiarism if something really works for a certain purpose. Like for example, a simple black and white checkered floor, and if two restaurants use it, it's not that you copied from this restaurant to that restaurant. It works for the purpose. So I mean, our challenge is to educate the client that, listen, this is for this set of people and this is what they would want. So then figuring out that what is a unique story. For me, it's more about the story for every project, for which I can do a talk with you and then talk about that story after 10 years. If I don't have stories, if I just have spaces, then it will be very boring. So then uh, so that story is what we are really hungry for, and I'm sure there's unlimited number of stories that can happen with the same amount of words. So
Mm.
that's what gets us high, that we have same amount of words and we weave
Yeah.
a new story every time.
I'm also curious to understand, and Rudra, you can make the results live whenever you can. We'd like to see what the audience has said. Space being big ideas. I think they also concur with your process, Abhigyan. Big ideas, but very little space to work with. Sometimes there's limitations of space, limitations of efficient workspaces, making it multifunctional. So it's nice to see that this is something that everyone resonates with as a challenge. I also want to understand from you, like while you're designing a space, right? Once the brief is approved, once you're getting down to the details of it, like how much of and this is something that you've demonstrated in the projects that you've shown, right? The amount of attention to detail that you pay, the amount of research that you do, the amount of kind of background work that goes into this, that might be really unsurmountable, right? Because for the cinema themed one, for instance, or for that matter, the place that got it had to be refurbished from the 1920s, where you've taken inspiration from the 1960s. So I wanted to understand from you, like how much of that, is important to your process, and how much of that sometimes gets totally derailed.
I mean, no, I mean, a substantial amount of research has to back the work that we do.
Mhm.
And there is endless amount of research that we constantly get into or dig into. And
Yeah.
there's a big team that does only research for the studio. So
You
what
have a
it helps
dedicated
is,
team just for research.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what it helps is that once we are into a project, basically we tend to go deeper and deeper and deeper, as deep as we can dive into, to make the
Right.
process and make the visual as real as possible. It
Mhm.
can't be, even if you imitate in its technology, we wanted to create a Ferris wheel that rotates, but taking that 1000 kg and mounting it onto a mall, and you have to get into engineering of how the pivot works, and people should not fall. There is an amount of public safety. So you need to then understand the engineering of it. There are a lot of engineering. We made a carnival theme where we made a ropeway. So we
Yeah,
went
that
to
was amazing. Yeah.
Maruti factory to understand how they rotate the cars, and we got the same mechanism and placed it inside a restaurant. So yeah, so there, it's not one person's job. A restaurant is built by 1000 people, and you are basically a driver of the scene. But there are so many people who do so much more, and you give them the right platform, they can do so much more than what they are doing. So
Right.
it is a collective effort of a lot of people. It's the
Right.
client also who is constantly researching, because he wants to do the best for his project. We want to do best for all our clients. There are a lot of workers who are basically final engineering aspect is they're resolved by them. So it's a team of people where we are just driving them in a certain direction. I would not take credit for everything myself. So it's the client has got equal kind of research as they come to us. They are equally knowledgeable about the product, and they know what they want, and we keep on. They also push our boundaries forward.
Absolutely. I'm sure that also motivates you, right, to come up with something,
Yeah. If we
that
didn't
really
have
suits the.
intelligent clients, we would have been dead. So we need clients to constantly challenge, contest, push us to go beyond what we can do.
I also wanted to ask you if the brief is it or the expectations, or even for that matter, in terms of smart restaurant design trends, and since you've also done international projects, do you see a difference between the brief or the demand, or even in terms of execution? Is there a difference between what's happening in India and what's happening abroad? Is there something that you can tell us, or you can highlight us
So
with?
in India, there are more people, less money, faster
The
projects.
obvious one, yes.
So,
Yeah,
so what happens is, and it's a
yeah,
fact, it's an economy issue that we have
yeah,
less money, more people. So you want to do the same amount of work at a lesser amount of time with lesser
right.
amount of resources. The same thing goes to US. You have more resources, more time, more research, more impetus giving on perfection
Hmm.
rather than time and money. So once the brief changes, so it's an economy issue. It's not India or West issue. The
Mhm.
economy will say that, okay, fine, I'll give you 12 months rent-free period. You do whatever you want to, but finish the job in 12 months. So start planning today. In India, you'll say 3 months rent-free period. 1 month has gone because you could not finalize an architect. Now 2 months is left. Do whatever you can do. Uh,
Yeah.
And that's the challenge. So in India, we've learned to create formats in which we start building before we know what's the final design. In New York, you can't do that because you need to get everything approved to the T
Yeah.
and then start fabrication. So in principle, the approach changes. So they will give you more amount to breathe, think, create the right set of drawings, and then start work on site. In India, they will say, okay, fine, we've done half of it. Now you tell me what can be done. So, um, and then you hire an architect with a constraint of time, energy, money, and then you say, okay, fine, now I am here. Now you make this in this much amount of money, and I don't care. Make this happen for me.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
the in principle kind of a difference of economy in general. So the economy doesn't support you to breathe and think so much as what a Western country would do.
Absolutely. Yeah. There are a few audience questions, participant questions that are coming in. There is Riddhi Madan who asks, what are the important aspects one should remember while designing an outdoors or an alfresco restaurant? Do you think there are certain challenges that pose with designing
Yeah,
a space that is
everything is
outdoors, of
moved
course? Yeah.
outdoor. So what has
Everything's moved
happened that
outdoor. Yeah.
only outdoor restaurants work, indoor doesn't work. So now outdoor has become very important. So things has to
In
last a
India,
test.
you mean, or
In India,
specifically?
any city, be it Shimla, be it Goa,
Mhm.
everyone wants to sit outdoors, irrespective of extreme temperature and climate. We build a hammock in Shimla, which is in snow, and people would want to sit there in extreme cold. And similarly in Goa, people will want to sit on a beach at 45 degrees Celsius. So outdoor is the next big thing. So we need to figure out whether whatever we are building will last for outdoor or not. So at times you design with materials that crumble with time because they can't test the standard of moisture and heat. So when something is has moisture in it and then it dries up and then again there's moisture in it, then things go bad. So designing for moisture is most important when you do it outdoors, and creating right climatic comfort, because no matter how hot or how cold you want to sit outdoors, so then there is technology. So if we are doing restaurants, we're doing air conditioning outdoor with 100% loss. Fine, it works as long as 5 degrees Celsius cooler than what's happening around you. You still find comfort there. So those outdoor spaces work more than a restaurant with a cooler, which is 1 degree Celsius below. So people have now realized that outdoor restaurants, you put in air conditioning and you let it go. But in the sense that if it creates the right amount of comfort, it'll really work. It'll get more people in the space.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Interesting to say, for you to say that outdoor is the next big thing, which is very interesting to see because we are anyway seeing the climate. It's not really it's the opposite of what you would expect, especially given the fact that global warming is not really kind of turning itself around, or the pollution, especially in major cities, is not really changing. In fact,
No
it's
matter
getting
whatever you
worse
say, so
every day,
in a
but
city
it's
like
still
Delhi
worse
where
in
pollution is
example.
at its peak, people will smoke hookah outdoors because they'll feel might as well smoke it than take it from the nature. So, and yeah, that's a trend. I mean,
Yeah,
everyone would want to be out. So any space that we design with indoor and outdoor together, only the
right.
outdoors work and indoors are typically dead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's a great insight. Thanks for sharing that. We're getting a lot of process related questions too. So Rishika asks, what are the questions that you as a designer ask a restaurateur in order to ensure that you have the brief down pat? What are the important questions, maybe? If you could just
I
tell
mean,
us.
first question we ask, and people get shocked at how much money you want to make. This is a
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
No, it's pure.
It's
It
true.
is very
Yeah,
simple mathematics. They come to me that I have a 5,000 square feet space.
yeah.
I ask them, how much do you expect the space to make for you? They will say, okay, fine, I want to make 1 crore of rupees per month. Then I will create a mathematics that you should do this to achieve that maths. If you don't ask your client that question, you will never know what does he want from you. In the end,
Yeah,
he'll has to he has a formula in his head that he'll
yeah.
never spill it out, but he wants that to happen. So might as well ask him, and if he's clueless, tell him that this is possible. So if that's the path, okay, fine. This is whether to make a jazz bar or a nightclub is a component of how much he is satisfied with. So every client has a different satisfaction level. Someone is super satisfied at 30 lakh rupees. Someone wants 1 crore rupees as a revenue. So then once you know that that is his satisfaction level, you start designing things according to his satisfaction level. You need to ask that question to your client.
We have some more questions also, and this is something that even something that also crossed my mind. Kuti Arch asks, nowadays Swiggy and Zomato play a huge role in any restaurant business. So what is your thought about the role of the consultant in the online business of the spaces that we create, especially with the emergence of cloud kitchens, where it's like there are two options for you. You either go to a restaurant, and enjoy the experience, or you get the restaurant experience, or maybe not restaurant experience, but at least a food experience at home.
I mean,
Um,
as a
you know,
core, a
yeah.
cloud kitchen doesn't work to make
Hmm.
money. So
Hmm.
if you have a restaurant and you have a cloud kitchen that operates outside that kitchen, then
Right.
you basically increase your revenue. So
Yeah.
how it works is that, and one restaurant kitchen can make 4 cloud kitchens. So people have to understand how cloud kitchen works and how. So for example, you order Smokehouse Delhi and it comes out of a social kitchen. You order Boss Burger, it comes out of a social kitchen. But people don't know they exist. So there is just one kitchen, and the kitchen serves for a restaurant and it does 4 other kitchen jobs that they can do. So in terms of optimization of resources, the kitchen really has to be planned in a way that it can churn more than just the people sitting in a restaurant. And the client has to be informed, and there's a certain workflow. How will the food go out? Where will the Zomato guy stand? Is he coming into a mall and picking it up in his helmet, or is he standing at the basement? So we're designing a food court where we're trying to create a space for Swiggy and Zomato to specifically come and collect. It's a
Hmm.
challenge these days because they barge into any space in any restaurant and enter key order de do. And so you need to design for that also in today's day and age.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, we have more process-related questions. I know that we are kind of a little over time, but I'll try to keep this as concise as possible. We have one final poll to ask our audience, which is about the future of restaurant design and what they feel is the future of restaurant design in India. And while all of our participants take some time to mull over the options presented, Abhigyan, what do you think in your, of course, you don't have to, we can talk about India, we can talk about international, but what do you think is the future of restaurant design? What will be integral to the future of restaurant design?
I mean, the future is obviously people understand that the business has to become holistic.
Hmm.
More and more, India grows, more there's a population demand of
Right.
eating and drinking out. And so once you're 35, you graduate out of restaurants.
Hmm.
So the younger population is higher. So there is obviously going to be more restaurants and restaurants and restaurants. The future being understanding the end user, using the right optimized resources to create a final product. And people are getting more conscious. So I mean, the price of the product is not increasing, the volume of people are increasing. So you have to understand how to cater to those volumes. So people, the size and the scalability of spaces. So now we're doing a 1 lakh square foot restaurant. So will that volume be sufficient? And there are obviously smaller spaces. So there is demand for all sizes. Someone has to understand what is the right product for the right place. The future is very simple. There's a product which is your complete food, alcohol, experience, design is one product, and the space is the captive audience. So whatever works for whom, that striking the right chord with the right people is most important. And no one is the hero. The end user is what you're designing all of this for. They have to understand your product.
I think it's kind of like a principle thing, right? If you don't know the story that you're saying, or if you don't know who you're catering to, then what is the point of designing such a beautiful project? You might have a great idea, but if it doesn't really meet the purpose, or if it doesn't excite your end user, right? So interestingly, 22% say smart, efficient planning, 14% say planning spaces for entertainment as well as co-working. By the way, I also wanted to ask you, do you see this as a trend also, where people are visiting restaurants not just to dine, but also kind of, so there is that growing trend. And I think social was also one of the few places that actually started that, encouraging people to not just come and eat, but also come and work, in a space that encourages networking. So I wanted to ask you if there is there something that that your clients have also shared? Is it something that you've observed also where you're creating spaces that do more than just dine
Yeah,
or
yeah.
common spaces?
Any
Yeah,
good space is to socialize, but
socialize,
the
right?
socialization gets converted into money once you start eating and drinking there. So
The
if
primary
you are
thing, yes,
you're
business.
primarily going there to meet your friends or meet
Hmm.
someone or going on a date, that's
Right.
the purpose.
Hmm.
And the solution is that you order a drink or coffee or nachos or whatever. But the purpose is not that. Eventually, the purpose is to meet your friends, peer group,
Right. Right.
and eating is has become 30%. 70% is still meeting people over
Right.
something on a space, so experiencing live gigs or whatever. So the space is more than just that eating.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up our discussion today. Thank you so much, Abhigyan, for your time.
Thank
We are going to be sharing a feedback form with our participants. I know that there were a lot of questions that were shared by the participants. A lot of you also talked about restaurant design trends, how do you start out? We will have opportunities like this. We will have sessions similar to this. So if you want to reach out to Abhigyan directly, we have shared his website details, and you can also follow him on Instagram. If you'd like to attend more sessions like these, we would love to hear from you. There is a free feedback form that will be shared with you shortly. If you'd like to know more about us and when our next sessions will be, please fill in the feedback form with your email address at least, so that we can share when our next session will be live. On that note, Abhigyan, thank you so much for your time. We
thank
really
you very much.
appreciate it. We hope that we hope to see more fun and new projects from you.
Yes,
Thank you for really sharing some really exciting projects. I think it's so exciting to see restaurant design being so exciting, powerful. It's not just a treat for for the taste buds, but also for the eyes. So it's really nice to see you kind of merge that together really well in the projects that you showcased with us.
thank you.
We are also going to be, as announced earlier, the GV's voting link will be live very soon. The link has been shared on the chat box. Please feel free to go and vote for the projects that you feel are more deserving. Somebody's asking on the link on the chat if there is a recorded video. Yes, this has also been broadcasted on Facebook. You will get to see it again on Facebook. It's already pre-recorded. As soon as we finish this, you will be able to access the link very shortly. The feedback link is also live. You can please fill in the feedback form because we're doing this for you, and we'd love to hear more from you. You can also ask us questions, leave comments in the on Godrej Locks' Facebook page or Godrej Locks' Instagram page. On that note, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on the weeknight, especially. Really appreciate it. Thank you for making this a wonderful evening, and we'll see you very shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.